Welcome to Workplace Psychology with Dr. Martha Greidick. I'm Dr. Martha Greidick. This podcast examines a wide variety of work-related issues through the lens of industrial and organizational psychology. And while many of the topics discussed here may be seen as intended for white-collar employees and their employers, in reality, the ideas presented here are applicable across organizations and industries. Additionally, many of the topics discussed here may be applicable outside of the workplace. I encourage you to examine what's presented here, apply what makes sense to you, and simply discard the rest. Greetings everyone, Dr. Greidick here. A quick reminder that my new book, The Stress Solution, is now available on Amazon. I encourage everyone to check it out. The link for it is in the description below. Look, we all have stress. Stress is not something that we can avoid or eliminate altogether. The key to your success when it comes to dealing with stress and its effects, it all comes down to how well you manage the stress in your life, how effective you are with your stress management efforts. This book, The Stress Solution, is all about mastering stress management. It's about learning the types of skills that will be with you for the rest of your life's journey, the types of skills that can be applied throughout your lifetime. As situations change, as things change, you can always rely on that which you've mastered. So check out The Stress Solution. It's a great opportunity for you to finally master effective stress management. It's great for you. It's a great gift idea. Check out the link below. It's now available on Amazon. I highly recommend that you give it a look. In this episode, I want to talk to you about the idea of toxic positivity. Many of you may have heard this term, but what exactly is it? What does it mean? Toxic positivity, whether that refers to the workplace or outside of the workplace, can be quite damaging, quite detrimental to the individuals involved and the general experience. So let's talk about toxic positivity at work. In the simplest of terms, toxic positivity is an expectation to stay positive regardless of the situation. So things could be burning down around you, and if you adopt this kind of mindset or this way of dealing with life, you are expected to be positive no matter what, even when it doesn't make sense to be positive, even when it's not helpful to be positive, even when it's detrimental or hurtful to be positive. Toxic positivity is very different from genuine optimism, in which it's just that, it's genuine, it's real. One can be a positive person by nature or by choice, but there are times when it's difficult or inappropriate to be positive and when it's okay to not be positive. That's more along the lines of the genuine expression. Toxic positivity, on the other hand, is more of a dysfunctional management of one's emotions. Maybe you've experienced this within yourself or with someone around you. Maybe you have seen signs or printed t-shirts or plaques or posters, things that say something to the effect of positive no matter what. Well, that's not a realistic expectation. Toxic positivity dismisses real emotions, because sometimes emotions can be something other than what we would label as positive. So toxic positivity doesn't allow for real emotions. Genuine optimism is not something that is forced and practiced on a 24/7 basis. On the other hand, it allows for the reality of one's feelings as appropriate for the situation and the experience. When we look at difficult situations or challenging situations through the lens of genuine optimism, we can allow ourselves to recognize the severity or gravity of a situation and still have hope for a better future, hope that things will work out for the best, hope that we can meet the challenge and come out standing on the other end. Whereas toxic positivity does not allow any of that. It requires you to basically have a fake grin on your face and a fake positive attitude regardless of what's going on around you. So why does this topic of toxic positivity even matter when it comes to the workplace? Well, first and foremost, if you are forced to always remain positive and manage your emotions in a dysfunctional way where you're not allowing yourself to feel or express any emotions other than what you would consider to be positive emotions, there's going to be a toll that is taken on you as an individual, but also on those around you. Denying or hiding emotions that are seen as anything but positive can be very stressful and very toxic, hence the idea of toxic positivity. It can lead to things such as increased stress levels, which may even lead to burnout, but it can also affect the social interactions between team members, between management and employees. It can lead to increased tensions, decreased productivity, lowered morale. Toxic positivity can also influence one's health and well-being, and that means both physical health and emotional and psychological health. When we look at the workplace, the goal is to have a happy environment, a healthy environment, and a happy, healthy experience at that environment. Toxic positivity is not the way to get there. Toxic positivity is likely to dismiss genuine feelings because they don't fit into that agenda or into that list of requirements. It can affect the organization's culture, and oftentimes it doesn't take much in terms of the source of toxic positivity before detrimental changes are seen. For example, especially on smaller teams, it may take but one person before everybody is feeling the pain of their toxic positivity. Sometimes when opposition is presented in the face of toxic positivity, it will be met with resistance and maybe with an accusation, dare I say, of being negative or not wanting to work things out for the best. But it's important to recognize that. Again, sometimes it can get a little bit confusing because in the real world of the workplace, there are people who are more positive by nature, there are people who are more negative by nature. But it's important to identify that fake, unyielding, unrealistic, dysfunctional approach to being positive, because that's where the toxic part comes in. Just because somebody has posters in their office or signs or on their desk or wears a t-shirt that promotes positivity doesn't mean that they're practicing it in the most helpful and healthy way. Remember that genuine optimism does not feel forced. And with genuine optimism, people are allowed to experience and express a wide range of feelings about any given situation. You may have seen or witnessed someone absolutely refusing to discuss a difficult situation or a negative event because they don't want the negativity or the bad vibes of it to interfere with their, what you now know is toxic positivity. But that's a big red flag. Even the best of genuine optimists have to be realistic in accepting situations and the environment around them for what they are. Only by dealing with reality in terms of a full range of emotions can we truly productively address situations as they come up. When it comes to promoting the kind of workplace, the kind of culture, and the kind of experience that steers away from toxic positivity and focuses more on genuine optimism, the responsibility and opportunity belongs both to the employer and the employee. The organization has the responsibility to absolutely focus on the kind of culture that they promote and embrace and essentially allow within the organization. It's important that those in management and leadership positions make an effort to model genuine optimism rather than fake or toxic positivity. Having an organization where honest and open communications are allowed and encouraged is key. Something else that an organization can do is to provide the right resources and the right support for the employees' physical, emotional, and mental health. This is all critical when it comes to creating the kind of environment that favors genuine optimism over toxic positivity. Individuals can do many of the same things to some degree. First and foremost, what you can do as an individual employee is monitor your own behavior, how you're contributing to the collective, to the environment, and what kind of a role model you are for those around you. You may think that being overly positive and rejecting anything other than positivity is a way of helping the organization and its culture. But from today's episode, you probably already know that it's quite the opposite. If you're someone who may be leaning towards that toxic positivity side of the spectrum, just know that you don't have to give up your optimism. This is about balance. This is about a genuine approach and a genuine interpretation of what's going on at the workplace. It's about allowing a full range of emotions as they are appropriate for different situations. Pretending that nothing's wrong does not make the problem go away. As this episode comes to an end, let's review what was discussed. Toxic positivity is a real thing, and it can be quite challenging at the workplace, especially as people struggle to find a certain balance within their own lives and within their workplace experience. There's a big difference with toxic positivity and genuine optimism. Toxic positivity is quite dysfunctional and detrimental. It does not allow for any emotions that may be considered to be less than absolutely positive, and it does not allow for a realistic examination and a realistic approach to problems that may arise. Toxic positivity is forced, unrealistic, and unproductive, despite potentially having started with the best of intentions. Toxic positivity can affect the organization and its employees by affecting the culture and the environment. It can lead to things such as lower morale, higher stress, potentially burnout, not to mention things such as health and wellness issues. While the organization can do a great deal to create the kind of culture and the kind of environment that promotes genuine optimism rather than toxic positivity, individuals can also be effective in the change and the effects that they bring into the workplace and the environment. And if you tend to lean towards what others may consider to be toxic positivity, do not despair. You don't have to give up your optimism. You simply have to make sure that your approach is effective and functional. Genuine optimism is very different from toxic positivity, but it's never too late to make that switch. For those of you who experience this podcast in an audio-only version, I invite you to check out my YouTube channel where you can find a video version of the podcast. In addition to the podcast, you can also find videos that focus on stress management. So I encourage you to check out Stress Free with Dr. G on YouTube. The link for that is in the description below. Thank you for joining me today. Please subscribe to this podcast. I look forward to seeing you here again next time. Until then, I wish you joy and well-being.